Rappers are clearly living better than you and I, and they relish in it. The amount of songs about making money as a celebratory scene and the selling of capitalistic element of American dream is mathematically uncountable. The music is pretty much a fantasy indulgence for the listener to bump on their payday. However, like in any art form, there's something to be said for taking basic elements, cliche elements, and executing them with a level of finesse and panache. I mean, that's what really raises certain B movies to cult classics. Rappers themselves can elevate the gratuitous love of money with either slick framing or just good imagery. Let's take a look at Nas's classic song Life's a Bitch and AZ's amazing verse on that. Visualizing the realism of life and actuality, fuck with the baddest, a person's status depends on salary, and my mentality is money orientated. I'm destined to live the dream, so all my peeps who never made it, cause yeah, we were beginners in the hood as 5%ers, but something must have got in us, cause all of us turned to sitters. Now some are resting in some peace, and some are sitting in San Quentin, others such as myself are trying to carry on tradition. Damn, that verse is perfect. And there are many ways I can go with this, but I really want to highlight that status line really is a great way to sum up people's relationship with money. People can respect power, people can respect being bad, but people don't really respect that if your money doesn't come with it. And ultimately, for a lot of people, their relationship with money is all about relating to who has the most, as that dictates a lot of their life. And AZ goes on to really relate his pursuit of money as this kind of honorable tradition, and that he's doing it in the memory of his friends who aren't around. So it's interesting that the gratuitous pursuit here isn't really as selfish as he probably thought when he was rapping the verse. Instead, the idea of pursuing money is all about people who AZ cares about, and that pursuit is really significant because that's affected how people made their decisions. So his success, his financial success, is kind of representative of his peer success, either them being dead or in jail. It's that kind of brilliance that really is why people consider this one of the greatest verses of all time, me included. However, you don't always really need something more meaningful underpinning how you talk about money. Your ability to use vivid imagery, that alone can really just do wonders. Let's take one of my most hated rappers of all time, Big Sean, to prove a point. On Looking for Trouble, Big Sean states, "Stacking money face to face, this shit look like CPR." Hey man, the whole verse wasn't great, but even a broken clock can find new ways to talk about money. The idea of faces of bills being stacked together, that it looks like the faces are performing CPR on each other, that's such a clever element of the dollar bill to highlight, as he talks about having a lot of it. And this is what strong rappers do. They isolate a particular feature of an object and then use that as a way to refer to the object in new ways. I mean, as rap fans, why else are we in love with the phrase dead presidents, if not for the novelty of using that as a representation of money? It's why Nas's phrase dead presidents to represent me is so damn elegant. Using that feature of money to be the core feature and relating how money can be a signifier of respect the way that presidents are, it's immaculate. That level of writing and work is sometimes underappreciated in rap, and likewise, a rapper who does a lot of it is often underappreciated, and that's Lupe Fiasco. And I really want to highlight what he does on the song Wale has called Poor Decisions. Here's a verse. "Poured cider since like 4 or 5 or sugar-coated colored edibles instead of building up the habit in the vegetables. Now early 30s, my blood pressure's incredible. Medical, yeah, nigga, I'm telling you. Coveting cars over community." So I'm going to be honest. I'm going to read a lot into this verse, but it's Lupe on a song called Poor Decisions with Rick Ross, and a lot of the conversations about money, so it feels appropriate. On face value, Lupe is talking about how around 4 or 5 kids are developing an unhealthy relationship with food, and that ends up causing major health damage for them in the future. I mean, for me personally, my reliance on sugary foods to de-stress is a thing that I could only now realize was really being developed in my teenage years. You don't catch the implications of certain decisions until later. However, that bar coveting cars over community right afterwards, I think, is a hint for the listener to consider the relationship with money that you were developing at a young age and how that might have put you in your current financial situation, just like how I talked about food prior. As I said, major elements about rapping about objects is using a physical feature. Money being green has been a way for many rappers to use salad, vegetables, and remains as stand-ins for money. So it really wouldn't be a stretch to suggest that Lupe is drawing parallels to the way that we invest in sugary treats growing up to how people tend to invest in luxury items, and that it's ultimately long-term conditioning that makes one choose flaunting cars over people or investing in people or community, the same way that it's long-term conditioning that makes us choose the Oreo of the banana. Do you see that interpretation as fair? I think there's reason for us to see this connection about thinking about the poor decisions that we make, and I think particularly for us as black people, those are both our health, literal physical health, and our financial health are such issues that drawing those parallels feels very natural, and I think it is a fair interpretation. But you tell me if you really see that verse in that way. But I think that vegetables line stands out because of how rappers talk about money as salad and these things. And I just really appreciate that our genre is this clever. We've found so many ways to like break up the monotony about talking about money. And I could have really went many different directions here when I think about talking about money. I mean, jewels and watches are other major status symbols that rappers have tried to break up the monotony of. I think this segment of what I'm going to call For the Love of Money will be a recurring feature of the channel, highlighting how different rappers try to find clever ways and cliche elements. But as a result of that, I want to know what are some of your favorite examples of rappers talking about money in unique ways. And even some of the ways that probably just stand out of just like, yeah, it's not great, but it's dope. Like, I wanted to bring up Kanye's classic where it's like, when I got salad, I spent it all on dressing. That line is terrible, but it stands out. I'm sure you can think of many lines like those as well. So bring those up in the comments. And if you liked listening to me talk about rap like this, share this with a friend, and maybe we can have more of these conversations. Like, comment, and subscribe. I'll try to come up with something for y'all next week. Much love. Peace, love, unity. God bless.